Tell me what it felt like to be on the floor in those moments.
Yeah, it feels amazing. Obviously in front of the home crowd, executing on both ends of the floor, that's what it's about.
So, are the Oklahoma City Thunder just exciting, or are they legit? Well, when you're led by someone who could be the MVP, are sitting at the top of the Western Conference at 30-5, and are on a 15-game win streak, it's hard to say you're just a team for entertainment rather than being a legitimate title contender. This win streak they're on isn't just normal. I would honestly call it a hot streak, and a statement sent to the entire league. They managed to hold their opponents to just 102 points per game while maintaining a 116.3 offensive rating, and when you're zoned in like this, it's hard to really lose a game. The Thunder are coming together, finding ways to eliminate teams on a nightly basis, and with the adversity they have faced, it's crazy they are still able to maintain this level of play. This hot streak they're on breaks their longest win streak in franchise history, and I mean, hey, if you want to take it all the way back, it ties the streak the Supersonics had when they were around, but right now, we're in Oklahoma City. They've not only won these games by a fair margin, but they're also doing it while not being all the way healthy. Earlier in the year, Chet went down with an injury that has kept him sidelined. A defensive anchor in Alex Caruso has been out for some games due to a hip injury, and with a rookie that has showcased his talents early on, AJ Mitchell has missed some games as well, dealing with a sprained toe. Needless to say, they were definitely the quote-unquote weaker team when heading into this matchup versus Boston, who was at full strength coming down to OKC, but this Thunder team doesn't care about the odds at all. They play for one another and honestly just showed that spirit that they love the game. To start off the game, the Celtics came out swinging in the first half, exploiting OKC's short-handed roster. Without Chet Holmgren patrolling the paint, Boston attacked inside relentlessly. Porzingis posed a mismatch they had to attend to, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown capitalized on every defensive lapse, and at one point Boston built up a double-digit lead, making it seem like that streak that OKC worked for was soon to be over. Remember what I had just stated? This Thunder squad is relentless, so going down without a fight is something that never happens. This first half was like a wake-up call to get them activated, and behind Shai's 17 early first half points, this pretty much kept him in the fight alone. He was mixing in drives, the mid-range game, and even knocked down a three-pointer. This led to the score being 65-55 going into halftime, and when the second half kicked off, this is when we seen a masterclass from OKC. When you talk about comebacks, most of the time it starts with the offensive firepower, but what really changed things was the Thunder locking in defensively and holding the Celtics to only 27 points in the entire second half. Jaylen Brown, who looked unstoppable early on, was completely neutralized going 0 for 7. Jason Tatum struggled to find any clean looks, and when he did, well, Shai sent it off the glass. And even Porzingis saw his touches dry up compared to the first half. The Thunder's rotations were sharp, they switched seamlessly, and their energy was simply hard to combat. Take this play for an example. When Tatum starts backing down J-Dub, you're going to see Shai load up, and you're also going to see Lu Dort get into L position in the paint. Now Tatum could stay patient to find one of his guys on the outside, but with him not even looking and there being nowhere for him to go, here's where you get this terrible shot over a heavy contest. Once again here, you're going to see Jaylen Brown lose the handle for a moment while Dort rushes in, but with the perfect rotations that we talked about, J-Dub stunts at Porzingis while Dort flies back out to take away this three, and on the swing to the corner, Shai closes out hard, making Derrick White miss the three-pointer. This type of defensive focus is needed to make a team a major threat, and time again, OKC was making it extremely difficult for Boston to see anything fall through the basket. Now, as much as this win over the Celtics is a huge statement game, this OKC team has been on a roll for over a month, and there's a little bit more that we can dive into. Just to quickly highlight it, one of the most underrated things about this team is the fact that they can pretty much throw in anyone at any point in the game and they will find a way to contribute. They play with this next man up mentality, and no, this isn't me saying that they could throw the entire bench out there and win games, but when you throw guys in the mix and show different lineups, it's like this team doesn't even lose a beat. Now that we've touched on that, I want to talk about the defense that OKC has shown throughout this season. Currently, the Thunder hold the #1 spot for defensive rating at 102.7 like we talked about earlier, just making every night a puzzle the opposing team has to try and solve. The team that's closest to them is the Orlando Magic at 106.4, which is 4 more points allowed per game, which highlights even more how focused this OKC team is. When you have guys like Lu Dort being a menace locking up players every game, Jalen Williams being a very switchable and lengthy defender with good IQ, and Hardenstein, who has served as a pretty solid protector, it forms a baseline identity of how their defense operates, and to say the least, is pretty darn good. If we wanted to dig a little deeper, we can see that over this 15-game stretch in particular, OKC tightened up their defense a tad bit more, holding teams to 101.5 points a night, just giving even more backing as to why it's a difficult time beating them right now. Not only is the defense something you have to game plan for, but the most important thing you must get your team ready for is the second runner in the MVP race, and that is Shai Alexander. To average 31 points and 6 assists on 63% true shooting percentage is absurd. When you watch Shai, you can see that he's never sped up, as he's the one that dictates the pace, and it doesn't matter what type of defense is shown to him, he will always find a way to get to his spots. I know all of us have heard people call him a free throw merchant, and maybe some of you watching are the ones that say it, but let's all be honest for a second. Shai is far from that, and is more of a master of the game, so let's just give credit where credit is due. Honestly, I don't get why in this NBA discourse we love to tear players down and always talk bad about them instead of just giving their flowers and being positive about the NBA to push things further. But hey, don't take it from me, I'm just some guy who makes YouTube videos. When you have a guy who's 26 years old, averaging 30 points, and is the head of the snake of a team who's #1 in the West, you must cover him and give him praise, which it seems like he doesn't get much of. I'm sure there's people that think differently, and that's fine, but when you sit down and see what he's really doing, it's quite amazing. I just broke down Shai's game in my last video, so you can go watch that one after this one. But to go back to something we talked about earlier, the Thunder aren't at full health at the moment as they've stacked up this win streak, so honestly, how much scarier will they be when the roster is all ready to go? Well, for starters, you get back one of your best defensive players and a Defensive Player of the Year candidate in Chet Holmgren. Everyone who's tuned into OKC understands how significant Chet is to their ceiling, and with him and Hartenstein healthy, we could see lineups with them both in at the same time, with Chet more of a roamer so he can block shots, and we'll also see their minutes staggered, which helps this team maintain some paint protection on the court at all times. Not only will Chet make a huge impact, but getting back to perimeter defense from Alex Caruso will be much appreciated, as it'll take some of the load off the other guards having to use a lot of energy on that end. And then when you mix in AJ Mitchell's solid playmaking when he's on the floor, you get a team full of guys who are confident and ready for the moment. Now going forward, OKC has the Cavs, Knicks, Wizards, 76ers, and the Cavs another time for the next 5 games. Now are these winnable games? Yeah, of course, but the Knicks and Cavs will definitely pose a threat to break this 15-game streak. I know last year people thought they were too young to reach high levels and the season was a fluke, but hey, what about now? They've once again climbed the ranks to be atop a very competitive conference, and no matter what adversity they have to fight through, they've shown they're built to last. For a question I have for all of you, what player do you think will be the X factor to this team's success and why? If you ask me, I would have to say Chet Holmgren. Not only does he bring back another level of defense, he also helps his team stretch the floor offensively while being able to create something for himself if needed, and this is something every team wishes their big man could do. That's just my opinion, so I would like to know what you all think. This mix of young, vibrant talent is set to explode at any time, and if you ask me, I believe we are in the middle of a small market explosion. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you're first to know when I upload. I really thank you all for your support, and I'll see you in the next video.